Everybody. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late there. I don't know, the time just like gets away. Hello, Linda. I need to put some hand cream on because my hands are so dry. Hello, Judy. Thanks, Lorraine. This was fun playing with alcohol inks. How are you guys doing today? I know Lorraine has this stamp set and I've had it for a while, and this is the first time that I've actually used it. So I'm really excited to get it out and play with it. Does anybody else have this set or a butterfly stamp? Hello, Doris. I don't know where the time goes. You get up in the morning and then it's like all of a sudden the day's gone. Good weather in Fraser Valley. That's awesome. It's actually really beautiful in Calgary here today. I think the morning was a little bit cool, but I don't know what temperature it is right now, but it's supposed to get to like 15 or 17 or something. So this is a look at the butterfly card, and I decided to emboss on Yupo. I did not know how it was going to go. Was a little nerve-wracking because I had my background done, and I literally got this done at like 11 o'clock last night. So I thought, oh my word, if the whole thing like melts, I'm gonna have a meltdown. So, but it worked. I'm happy to say. You're expecting 20. Wow. Hello, Victoria. Yeah, we're so ready for spring weather everywhere. So that's nice. Definitely you got to get out and enjoy that. I think tomorrow's going to be nice here as well. So we're going to use this Doily Embossing Folder, which I'm really, really liking. Thanks, Victoria. I think any 3D embossing folder would look nice on this. I love that doily. I've got the Pinkfresh butterflies. It's just called butterflies, and it has some really nice sentiments on there. Now, we did have a pop-up shop. Hello, Jane. We had a pop-up shop on the weekend, and so the inventory still could be out on the website because it has to be manually, everything has to be manually counted. But if you place an order and if something isn't in, then Sandy will contact you. And often she can just reorder that. But just to be aware that the stock levels might be off a little. This comes with, or you can purchase, the coordinating die cut, which is nice to have. And it's kind of neat because this stamp is like one big stamp. So if you leave it, you could probably cut it apart if you wanted to, but if you leave it together, then the die cut cuts it perfectly. And I'm always hesitant to cut my stamps apart. There's been a couple that I have, but I tend to leave them together. There's also, where did I put it here? There's also a stencil that comes with this, and the stencil allows you to use some inks and sponge on each area, which is really nice too. And you can see these stencils are looking like super brand new because I actually might have used the stencils by themselves once, but I think that's my next thing to do, is use the stencils with the stamp because I really love it and I love how big it is. And what is everyone up to today? Have you just been busy all day? Are you going to do some crafting? We're going to do alcohol inks for the background first. So I've got the pearls, and we kind of had a look at the pearls when they first came out. Now I asked Erica to choose the color she wanted to use. So this is her color choices, which I think actually turn out really nice. And we've got the Divine. These are the new ones. Now, if you do search for alcohol pearl, everything will come up that's in stock. And there are some other colors as well that were previously released. And the new colors, let's see here. So there were 6 new releases. So Divine and Opulence, those are new. And then I have the other ones here. So you could do like a different color palette if you wanted. There's Radiant, Intense, Scorch, and Elixir. And you can mix and match these with the previous pearls. You can mix them with regular alcohol inks, the alloys. So the pearls just give this really nice shimmer when you use them. And they're very nice. And I grabbed, these are just in my stash. I have no idea if these are old. This one is called Pool. I think this one is an old one. It doesn't even have the name on it, which they changed. But it's kind of like, I don't know, what would you call that? Pinky, purpley, maroon color? What do you think? You're working, Lorraine? I was working this morning. Judy's doing garden chores. Nice to do in the nice weather. And then I thought we'd pull out the alloy just to show you how it kind of goes together with the pearls and the inks. And there's a bunch of different kinds. I think there's 5 different alloys, and they're all really beautiful. So they give that effect of like a metallic effect in your background. And yeah, so I think that's what we're going to do. I grabbed some gold embossing powder. So I just happen to have some Emerald Creek on hand, and it's kind of a fine gold embossing powder. And I did not look to see what kind of embossing powder is in the shop, but I'm sure there's some gold, or you probably have gold in your stash as well. So our first thing to do, we may as well start with our our alcohol inks. So one thing to keep in mind with alcohol pearls, we'll put those on first. You only want to use your blending solution with your pearls, because if you use your rubbing alcohol when the pearls are wet, you're going to get some clumping. However, after your pearl is dry, you can use it. So I thought that was neat. That was just something that Tim Holtz had said, and I kind of tried that in my layering, and it worked. And welcome to everybody else who popped in: Diana and Kendra and Darlene and Leanne and Debbie and Carrie. Hope you guys are all doing well today. All right, so this is a sheet of Yupo, and you can get, this is the one that I'm using, but Ranger has a Yupo paper as well, and I think that they're all pretty much the same. And then you've got the blending solution. So for the blending solution, what we're going to do is we're just going to go over our background, and we're going to end up adding more on. It's just kind of, this is giving us a little bit of a layer to float the alcohol ink on, and you can really do this any order that you want, just keeping in mind that you don't want to put rubbing alcohol with the pearls when they're wet. So with the pearls, you're going to have a little bit of pearl settling at the bottom. So you always want to make sure that's mixed up. And then we'll just put some drops on. And I don't know what effect we're going for. We're just going to go with the flow. But honestly, this is something you can't mess up. Or if you have an alcohol ink background that looks hideous, I mean, nothing looks really hideous, but you know, like sometimes it's just like, ugh, that is a hot mess. This is a great technique to use with those. And I'm just going to grab a wipe. So I let Erica start this before she went to bed, and she picked the colors, and then I gave her free rein over the blower tool, and she was like hitting it as hard as she could. So this is starting to dry because I'm talking, so I'm going to add some more. So she's like blowing it, it's splattering all over the place, and I'm like, why are you blowing it so hard? Like, just go like gently. And she says, well, that's really boring. And you know what? That's true. When you're 10 and you like have access to something that could like shoot color, it certainly is boring when you're being a little more controlled. So I'll just let her do what she wanted to do because, you know, I didn't want to make it boring. So I am just dripping this on as I'm moving it around. I'm getting some color over my background. And I think it looks lovely. And if you decide to like blow this as hard as you can, it's going to shoot and it'll still look great. Too funny, hey? Erica's always a story. So this is still a little bit wet, but can you see in the light where the pearl gives it this really gorgeous shimmer? Too funny, hey? All right. So we've got on our pearls. Now you can go ahead and layer on your alcohol ink. So we could have done the alcohol inks first. It didn't really matter. So I'm just going to drop these in some different areas. This is like kind of a hot pink. And then this pool color, I really like this teal color. And the nice thing about Yupo is that if you really hated it, you could spray rubbing alcohol on it and wipe it off, and it would be a little stained, but then you could put more on and move it around. So what I kind of like to do, I've got the 91% alcohol, and I think the difference between the blending solution is sometimes like the blending solution has resins in it. It helps to move things around, and it works with the pearls and the alloys. The rubbing alcohol almost seems to dilute things a little bit more and works with the inks. And it will move the pearls around once they're dry, and it won't affect them or make them clumpy after they dry. So see, if I'm adding this on, it's almost like if you had watercolor and you added some water to the background. So we're getting some movement. So I think that you need both. I like to work with both. And I kind of just decide, you know, if I feel like I need stuff watered down a bit more, I'll probably add some alcohol, or you get some cool effects. And then I'll put on some blending solution as well. So I kind of think that you need both. And this is looking very pretty. So you can see the rubbing alcohol didn't affect the pearls or made them chunky because they had already dried. And if we wanted to add some of the blending solution, it's still going to move things around. I think that you just get a little bit of a different effect. And you can kind of keep playing until you have something the way that you want it. If you add a ton of this, it does take longer to dry because it does have a bit of a resin in it, and see if I wanted to add a little bit of alcohol here just to kind of wick this out a little bit, then I could do that. You can spray the rubbing alcohol, but you don't ever want to spray your blending solution just because of that resin that's in it. You wouldn't want to breathe it in. And now we're going to add in our alloy. So that was actually pretty quick, hey? Like just to get a really nice background. It's your favorite colors, Judy? Oh, I'm glad. Hello, Maria and Tracy. And just for anybody who wasn't here right at the beginning, if you're shopping on scrapshotz.com, we had a pop-up shop on Saturday, and so some of the inventory is still off a little bit because it has to be all manually entered in. So if there's anything that wasn't available, then Sandy will get back to you and let you know. All right, so this is the sterling alloy. And with the alloys, you do need blending solution in order to adhere it, move it around, and make it stick to your project. So it gives a really cool effect. You almost get, you can blow it into veins. You get this pearlized effect, and it likes to come back together. So what you're doing is you're adding the blending solution and blowing it kind of into a design that makes that alloy move. And it also is going to move some of the ink underneath. So you could go back and add some more ink. So by adding these colors that go together, it doesn't matter if they mix. You're not going to get brown because you've got purples and blues and pinks, and so you will get other variations of those colors. But if you had like purple and green and you were mixing them, then you would get some brown. So you just have to kind of be aware of your colors. I'm going to hold this up. I kind of like that. We've got some of that silver going on in the background. Here's a look at this. Can you get the colors? Oh, for sure, Lori. So the colors we're using, Divine, this is the alcohol pearl. Then this is Opulent. Opulent. I called it Opulence earlier, but it's Opulent. And it is the pearl as well. That's one of the newer releases. Then we've got the Sterling Alloy. And these ones here, these are older ones that I just had in my stash. So this one is called Pool, but I have no idea what this one is called. And I think it's older packaging and they didn't have the name on it. So if anybody has an idea what the name might be, you could post that. But it's like a kind of a hot pink, purpley color. So anything that's similar to that would work, no problem. All right, so here is a look at that silver that's through, and you can see we kind of moved that out. Looks really pretty. And I have some rubbing alcohol in this little mister, and if we wanted to add even a little bit more texture, once you put that alcohol on, it just gives you this really cool effect. So we'll let that dry for a minute. And then we'll do our embossing. Really hoping that the embossing works. it did work last night, and I even tried a, a test one again, and it worked fine. Hello, Jennifer. Okay, so we're going to get our embossing folder out now. So this is the Doily Embossing Folder, and it's one of those texture fades ones, really cool. I love the 3D embossing folders. So depending on your machine and your folder, so I have the Platinum 6, and I find that I can only fit this folder in, and then I've got 3 sheets of heavy cardstock. That's how I run my folder through, because the plate doesn't fit with this. And you just have to kind of play around. If you're trying to put a 3D folder through and it just feels like it won't go through, just take it out and play around with some shims, or, you know, don't force it to go through, and you'll figure out what is actually going to work. So because this is a pretty thick folder and I don't have a full plate to put on top, I'm actually just going to tape this closed. And I found, because I was running it back and forth, that sometimes it might shift a little bit, and I just wanted to make sure that the paper didn't shift. So I just, by taping on each side, it seemed to keep it nice and stable, and it embosses fine like that. But I did like putting it back through one side and back again. Have you guys tried the 3D folders? There's lots of 3D folders from different companies. So Spellbinders has a lot. There's some new Spellbinders ones in the shop that are beautiful. And the one that we used last week with that butterfly card from last week, I wasn't even thinking that it was 2 butterfly cards in a row, but it's completely different techniques. So I thought, you know what, you guys would probably be okay with that. And then it just turns out beautiful. Do I spray my cardstock? I didn't. This is a pretty heavyweight cardstock. You can just spray it lightly with water. I think depending on, if I was using like a foiled cardstock, I probably would. This doesn't seem to crack, but if you're not sure and you want to try it, either just try a little sample piece, run it through. If you feel like it might be cracking, then give it a little spritz with water from far away and then run it through, because that's an easy thing to do. Hello, Margaret Erica. So there's our beautiful doily. And we've got our background here, but I want first to add this sentiment. So the sentiment is embrace this moment. And I'm not sure if this is back in stock because I didn't check, but it's something to watch for. If not, it's Altenew Obsidian Pigment Ink. I really love it for any stamping I have to do. I find it's good for watercolor. You can't Copic color with it, but I like, let me put this in the camera. I like to use my stamp press because I'm always worried that I won't get a good impression. And I find that for the most part, this gives me a really good impression on my first stamp. Yeah. So especially if I'm using a stamp block, or I just have something I don't want to put into the stamp press, that ink works nice. So we've got embrace this moment, love that sentiment. And we're going to put that onto our background. Maybe we'll just let that ink dry for a second. Now let's see. This is a tiny bit sticky, and so what I'm going to do, because I don't want the embossing powder to stick to areas that are not stamped, we're going to stamp it with Versamark. So I'm just going to dry it a little bit. And I think the important thing to understand is that this is plastic, and if you do keep it on the plastic, you know, too long, it's going to warp and you are going to eventually melt it. So you could just set this aside to dry for a little bit, but it's a little bit sticky, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the powder bag and I'm just going to tap this over. And if we do get a little bit of powder stuck to it, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay, so we've got the powder on top of it. Should be good. I'm not that worried about it. And I was gonna clean my stamp press and make it all nice and shiny for you guys, and then I forgot. So we'll have to do that next time. All right, so we've got this great big stamp. And I'm just being careful to pull that off, but it's pretty sturdy. Hello, Irene. So here's where you can put this, you know, if there was a spot that you liked better or some colors that you liked better, I think you could adjust it however you wanted. I don't think it's really going to matter. I think everything's going to look pretty good. I'll get it here so that there's color all over the background. And I'm just going to push this in snugly because I think I might do it twice. So I'm just using Versamark, which is just a sticky ink that you can use with embossing powder, and it helps your embossing powder to stick. And then we're going to put on our gold embossing powder. So I'm getting lots of ink on the back or on this stamp. And let's see here. Somewhere I have, oh, there it is. I have my little air hockey paddle, and I'm just going to use this to go and all over the background to really press it down. If you had, if you don't have something like this with a flat surface, then you could use like a cloth that you can kind of press the heel of your hand. Oh yeah, there is so many products. That's right. I think too, you have to kind of think like if you don't have any alcohol inks and you're thinking about getting some, then what other things could you use it for? Okay, I'm going to pull this up and let's so it did move. I think we could, that's pretty much, I'm going to see if I could stamp it again, but I'm just going to see. I'm hoping this works. So if you didn't have alcohol inks and you wanted to get into them, you could start with just a few colors and get some Yupo paper, blending solution, and rubbing alcohol. The rubbing alcohol you get just at the pharmacy, the 91%. I think this worked good. I did stamp on top of this at first, but I felt like the black just didn't show up enough. So this actually worked pretty well. Yupo's nice because if you want to redo it, you can really just wipe it off and start again. But, you know, just starting with a few, and I have alcohol inks that I have had, I think, for 15 years, and they just never seem to run out. So you don't need all the colors, or you could, you know, because you can mix and match the pearls if you like the pearl effect, but you only wanted like a blue in the pearl and then some other ones in different colors, you could do that. So, but you're right. If it's something, you know, you can't have all the things. Well, I think we want all the things, but you do want to make sure that what you buy, you're going to use and that it's going to bring you joy. All right, so we have embossing powder on here now. Hello, Erin. And this is where we're going to do our heat gun. So when I did it at first, I was really careful and I kept it up here and it was like taking forever, and I hate things that take forever. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna like see how close I can do it and how fast I can do it without it actually melting. And it hopefully it works this time, right? Because we're live, but let's just see. So I turn it on and I'm just going to let that heat up so that it's hot. And then we're going to keep this moving because it is plastic, and you can see, there's a little fuzzy thing here in a second. You can see that the plastic is moving a bit. So we want to keep that moving because our goal, it's okay if it warps a little bit, but we really want the embossing powder to melt before the plastic melts. That's our goal. And you're going to be able to see as soon as it starts to melt. It's going to turn color. So if you're nervous about this, I would say, you know, do a practice piece on a little piece first, just to get an idea of how close you can get and how it's going to react. So this is taking probably a little bit longer than if I was just embossing paper, because I really want to just keep it moving. And if you find that it's just too hot, just take your heat gun away for a minute. And I think we're going to see it turning any minute. And I'm seeing some that's melting, and I'm just trying to watch it from an angle just to make sure I'm going to see. There we go. You guys see that? And it's starting to curl, so I'm just going to pull my heat gun away a little bit. It's a butterfly, so it's okay if it looks a little bit. It goes on the edge of your seat. And I'm just going to see if there's any spots that look like it wasn't embossed. I think that's good. So it did curl up a little bit. And I think it didn't curl much last night because I really took my time. So I think that's probably, this is fine. We're just going to let it cool a little bit before we die cut it. It's fine to be a little bit wonky. But if you want less wonkiness, it's the technical term, then I think just keeping it moving, keeping it up a little further, taking a little bit longer to emboss than you normally would. I think that's the key. Okay, so this is cool. And we're going to put our die cut on here. And with this one here, it's going to be a little tiny bit off just because you've got a little bit of dimension now, but it's pretty close. Okay, so we're going to run that through. And it never hurts to experiment. And you might do something one time one way and then figure out that you should make a few adjustments for the next time, and that's okay. I think it's better to do that than to never try something. And it is just essentially a piece of paper. If it didn't work, see, that's going to be totally fine. This would be really nice too. Pinkfresh has those small butterflies. That would be really good. Nice as well. So I think, like, you can barely tell that there was any warping. The technical terms, yes, Ellie, there's lots of technical terms. I'm glad that you enjoy that. All right, so now we need to glue that background on our card that I set somewhere. Here we go. Okay, so we've got our embossed background. Yes, Judy, I think you should just try it. Just go for it. Keep it moving. That will be your motto. And it's okay if it goes wonky. So I am just putting this right on here. I kind of like that we've embossed this and we're just putting it white on white. But if you wanted to have, I think the white looks nice because the butterfly has so much color in it, but this folder is nice inked. We did that a few weeks ago with those lemons, and we inked the folder. Or if you wanted to use a sponge and bring it over, it looks really nice as well on that folder. So then we have our butterfly. I'm so excited about the butterfly. And then we have these extra ones that you could put on a card, just like that. You could put them on a matching tag or something, would look really pretty. I think these are really great size to use on a scrapbook page as well. They would look beautiful. And also, I haven't done this for a while, so I thought, because it's pretty minimal in regards to things that are on our background, this is just some like metallic thread from the dollar store or something. And I just want this loopy, kind of loose effect in the background. So I'm going to roll this around my hand. And I'm holding it at one spot so that even though it's going to be loosey-goosey, there is actually a method to it. So we're still holding it at this one spot, and then if I decide where I'm going to want it put, I can even loosen it a bit. And as long as you're still holding it, you have a way to attach it, and it's not going to be all over the place. So then I take a glue dot, and the glue dot, I'm just putting it on this one spot. where everything is attached. And I'm actually going to, I'll put a piece of foam tape or something on that as well. But for now, that's just going to hold it, because if I just laid it down there and didn't have anything, it would be all over the place. So I think that's probably about the right spot. And the glue dot can just kind of hold it there. And then when we put on our butterfly, you've got that effect in the background. I didn't have my glue dot for this one, so that's why it looks a little hairy. And oops, out of control. So we're going to put on some foam tape. And you don't need a whole lot. And the Yupo die cuts really nicely. And that foam tape as well, it's just going to hold that thread down in the background and then hold our butterfly. And I really like that, even, you know, even though it kind of went a little bit wonky, I'm like making up words all over the place. It looks great because it's a butterfly. So then we can go and put some nice sequins on. The envelope would be really nice for the butterfly. You're right. That would look gorgeous. Thanks, guys. It does look nice when it's all over the place too. And I think you can have it more of a loose look if you just pull it apart a little bit and just still have some piece that you can attach with the glue dot. It'll still stay. Nature is never perfectly flat. That's correct. So this is one of my little sequin bins. And let's see here. I thought just some clear sequins would look nice on this, just to accent it, but nothing that's going to be to kind of take over. So I've got this one that can go here. And I've got a little gem, those Spellbinders gems, those would be nice to use on something like this. There we go. And I could use my gem picker. That would probably be a little bit better than trying to place them by hand, but it works. Okay, there we go. I think that is pretty much done. Hello, Glenda. How are you doing? So that's a look at our card there. So this one was our completely wild background, and this one was our more controlled background. They still both look amazing. Thank you. Thanks, Linda. And then our pretty butterflies. So depending on whatever you want in the background, and I think that embossing the gold just takes it up a notch. If you wanted, I was thinking you could paint on a little bit of black on the butterfly or use a Copic. You just don't want to go over the embossing powder too much with Copic, but you could add a little bit of black into the body, but I think it's good. Thank you, Maria. Right, I hope you guys have some time to play this week and this weekend and do something crafty with yourselves. And yeah, if there's ever a technique that you're wanting to know more about, feel free to post that in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, and we're happy to help you out. Thanks, Karen. We also have a challenge this month. The new challenge in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, you're so welcome, Lorraine, is something punny or funny or something that makes you smile. Lorraine made a fantastic funny card, something that's funny. So you have all month to upload your project to that album in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, and then a winner will be picked at the end of the month. And yeah, I don't think there's too much new. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, we're doing a newsletter every week just to let you know what's new, what's in the shop, the new kit, all kinds of fun stuff. So you can sign up at the bottom of scrapshotz.com. There's a little area where you can sign up for newsletter, or on the blog. If you're looking at the screen view, like a desktop view on the Scrap Shotz blog, on the top right, you can sign up for the newsletter, and then you won't miss anything. Thank you, Victoria. Yes, I think that she did. She'll be very excited that you guys liked her color choices. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, have an awesome week. I will see you next week, and share what you're crafting with. And thanks so much for stopping and sharing your time with me. We'll talk to you later. Bye.